co-chairs and attendants. In all age groups, neonatal conditions are the #1 causes of disability-adjusted life years, accounting for 7.2% of global dailies alone. This is explained by the high mortality rate in neonates and the large number of long-term neurological impairment acquired during perinatal period. One of the main causes of this neuronal injury relates to preterm birth and IVH. I have been working in neonatology field for 17 years now, but detecting an IVH, a severe IVH, it hits like a lightning out of the blue. It's a therapeutic challenge and also a very heavy emotional burden of the family. That's why I decided to focus on the onset of IVH, and due to the multifactorial etiology of IVH, it's also cardinal to identify the time-specific risk factors, in the hope that we can develop preventive measures and apply neuroprotective interventions, targeting to reduce this devastating condition, the occurrence of this devastating condition, thereby increasing functionality and quality of life in the future. My name is Zsuzsanna. I'm a first-year PhD student, and I'm also working at Semmelweis University as a senior neonatologist. My supervisors are Mikros Szabó and Arjen Töpász, my SMS is Vanda Máté, and my statisticians are Daniel Veres and Tamás Kói. Our primary, we will focus on investigating the onset of IVH among extremely preterm and neonates. After a thorough analysis of literature, we will write a clinical trial and then conduct a clinical trial. Now let's address the elephant in the room, IVH. My main field of interest are preterm neonates with IVH under the gestational age of 32 weeks or birth weight up to 1,500 grams. IVH is a frequent complication of prematurity with the pooled estimates of 34.3% among extremely preterm neonates. Its exact occur, it's still unknown, but we know that 90% of the IVH cases occur within the first 3 days of life. That's why our aim is to describe the onset of IVH in this vulnerable population. On the left side of the picture, you can see a normal ultrasound of a preterm neonate, and on the right side of the picture, you can see a left-sided grade 3 and a right-sided grade 2 IVH of a preterm. Our clinical question focuses on the time distribution of onset of IVH among preterm infants within the first week of life, and we hypothesize that there is a typical time distribution pattern of IVH. We conducted a systematic search in 4 databases with a search key consisting of the following domain: the age, the disease in question, and the screening domain. At the end of our selection process, we included 64 eligible articles. Our first aim was to describe the distribution of the onset of IVH among extremely preterm infants. Just to fulfill this aim, we pulled 64 individual survival curve of a preterm neonate, just to be able to have more precise estimation of the onset of IVH. I would like to emphasize that we have more than 2,000 in the individual data, and I would like to highlight the determination of my statisticians who continuously research, learn, and apply new or unusual methods like interval-censored survival curve analysis. Due to this statistical methodology's complexity, our analysis is still in progress. Just to show you visual representation of this might look, I will show you one of our individual survivor curve, which is the PENAT trial. They included more than 900 preterm neonates in this trial. The IVH was found in 38% among all studied preterm population. And out of these IVH cases, 56 occurred within the first 24 hours of life. One of our main interests was to to have an answer for the very early IVH occurrence among preterm neonates and among all IVH cases. In this plot, you can see a proportion of IVH occurrence up to 6 hours of life among all preterm neonates. Our subgroup analysis based on the publication year before 2013 and after 2013. The reason behind that, the previous meta-analysis included studied before the year of 2013. The proportion of IVH occurrence up to 6 hours of life was 12% in the studies published before 2013 among all preterm neonates, and was 2% afterwards. This statistically and clinically also significant results translates to a 6-fold decrease in very early IVH occurrence among all preterm neonates. It can be due to our improved neonatal care. And on the second plot, we can see the proportion of IVH occurrence up to 6 hours of life was 39% among all IVH cases in studies published before 2013 and 9% afterwards. It's also can be due to the improved antenatal and perinatal quality of care. I already mentioned some of our strengths. I would like to highlight that we have a heterogeneity of the screening protocol, but this interval-censored analysis might help us. And we have to keep in mind the detection time is not equal with the onset. In conclusion, based on our partial results, it might imply that the distribution pattern has changed since 2013. We would like to propose to change the timing and the frequency of a neurosonography guideline, because we think that shorter temporal interval is required to explore the time-specific risk factors for IVH. I finished my data extraction. I received all the individual survival plots, and I received 30% of my meta-analysis plot. After a thorough analysis of literature, we will write a clinical trial protocol, screening protocol, and then conduct a multicentric international clinical trial with the Netherlands. There are several antenatal, perinatal, and postnatal risk factors known to increase the incidence of IVH, but however, their time-specific effects are poorly described. That's why our aim is to describe the distribution of onset of IVH and identify their time-specific risk factors under the gestation age of 29 weeks. We hypothesize that there is a typical time distribution pattern of onset of IVH. With our collaborator, we already agreed on to include inborn preterm neonates under the gestational age of 29 weeks with the presence of parental consent. We are planning to perform a repeated cranial ultrasound, especially within the first 24 hours of life, just to be able to explore the time-specific risk factors of IVH. I'm planning to submit my first project in June and my second one in the beginning of 2025. And I would like to finish my presentation with a quote. Another thing very injurious to the child is the tying and cutting of the navel string too soon, which should always be left till the child has not only repeatedly breathed, but till all pulsation in the cord ceases. Otherwise, the child is much weaker than it ought to be. Erasmus Darwin already knew what is good for the baby in 2018, and we forgot about it for a couple of decades, but now we are back on it, this track. Thank you very much for your attention.
For your presentation, I have one short question regarding your first project. Would you plan to conduct any subgroup analysis, for example, regarding gestational weeks or weight?
I think it's impossible. I mean, I have lots of individual data, but we cannot really reach on this. But you know, it's quite a short period under the gestation age of 32. We can check the birth weight of the study, so we will see. I'm more interested in the intervals, like at the birth and at 6 hours of life, how much is the IVH occurrence of this. But I will think about that. Thank you for your suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. And could you explain what are the symptoms of IVH?
It can be really subtle, and it can be like, that's why I just started my presentation with this. You know, you can feel that when you are doing a really good delivery room stabilization of a 24-week baby and looks really pink and moving, etc., and you have a really good start. And after, let's say, after 2 days, you can see a really quick deterioration of the baby, like become pale and no breathing, starts to bleed from everywhere, and you can see you lost the bottle, maybe. So these are the signs. And sometimes it's just subtle or seizure, or there are lots of signs of it. Thank you.
Are you planning to do also another analysis based on the intervals, not only the 6 hours of life? 70 hours?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, we will wait for this interval sensor survival curve analysis. I'm really interested in can we say that how much was the IVH occurrence at birth, but you know, it's really depend on their screening protocol, what they have. And then it's sometimes they just write it down. Yeah, we check the baby at birth and afterwards every 8 hourly, but then they just didn't say the data of it. Just like yeah, all babies had IVH within 3 days of life, because it can have medical, legal. What's that? So you can find out according to the intervals, the IVH occurrence of the intervals, what can happen, what do you have to change? Do you have to change something with the pregnancy? I mean, you have to look for preeclampsia or something like that, or you have to change something in the delivery room stabilization methods or something like that. Thank you for your question.
You mentioned that in your trial you would like to include neonates under the 29 gestational age. Why is this reason? Why have you choose this 29 week? And do you know how many babies are born, for example, in Hungary annually and under this gestational age?
Yeah, I mean, we had to make a sample size calculation for this, so we checked all of our data from 2020 and 2021, and we realized that the IVH occurrence rate is really low, above 30, and we don't want to disturb these premature babies, because the minimal handling, it's really, really important. To be honest, I don't know how much is the percentages, but it's just a couple of percent, like 5%. It shouldn't be more.